Hi,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm good. Thanks. How are you?
Good. Looks like we have some people starting to come in. So let them-
That's great. The sun is out now.
Yeah, much better.
Then it snowed.
Yeah. I couldn't believe that this morning that it, all right, I'm just getting my everything shared here. Do you want to share your screen for now, just for the kind of the opening?
Sure.
And then I guess we'll just give everyone through, 2 or 3 more minutes, and we'll get started.
Okay.
Let's see.
Can you see my slide?
Yes.
It's very colorful.
Yeah, looks good.
Thank you.
All right, so excuses everyone. We're just letting some more of the participants, giving them some time to show up, and then we're going to be getting into our presentation steps to building great e-commerce website. And this is recorded, so we'll be able to start soon, and then anybody who joins late won't miss out on anything if they can watch the recording.
Okay. Well, let me know when you want me to start.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I think we can start with at least introductions, and then by the time anybody else shows up, we'll be into the content.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, thank you for everyone to join our e-commerce webinar. I've seen some familiar faces on at least the email list. I'm your host, Susu Wang. I'm the owner of Tomo 360, and we are a Lowell-based marketing agency that we help businesses and nonprofits with their online marketing and to increase their online presence. We been working with Donato D'Andreo pretty much since we started Tomo 360 about 8 years ago. He's a great partner and a great website designer. And we've worked together many projects. The thing I really like about Donato is that he not only just build beautiful websites, but he also pay a lot of attention to generate leads and getting customers to come into the site. And he is the owner of Compete Now. So Donato, I'm gonna let you start.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for the kind words. I think you've been a wonderful partner over the years, obviously, and we do everything we can to help your clients and achieve online. And you do a great job of getting traffic to their websites through the different social media and this search engine optimization and everything. So we take care of building the websites, and then but that doesn't matter if they don't get traffic. So that's where you come in. So that's been a great partnership that way. I just realized my background has the baby stuff in the background, so I don't usually have a home office, but I'm set up temporarily, so excuse my background. I am going to be, I'll start sharing my screen and start getting into the content of the presentation. I'm also going to be paying attention to, you can chat in questions. I probably will go through the chat questions for the most part at the end. And but separately from that, I recently realized there's like a raise hand feature for Zoom, so that might be something we try out a little bit, so that as you have questions, you can raise your hand, and and we'll see if we can let you talk and ask that question. So I'm going to share my screen now so that you can see the presentation. And that should be there. All right, so Susu, do you see just the first presentation overview slide?
Yes.
All right. Great. So basically the overview and goals of the presentation are just going to be to discuss, obviously partly why having an e-commerce website is valuable. A lot of businesses are realizing now why it's valuable. If you can't be open, your physical location needs to be open, then you need some way to still sell your products or services. We're going to go over, the steps to setting up an e-commerce website. Most specifically, I'll probably spend a lot of time talking about recommended e-commerce platforms. Definitely feel pretty strongly about those. And then at the end, I'll give some tips on generating sales from your e-commerce website. And I'm sure Susu will want to probably chime in on that slide as well, just briefly. So now we'll go to the next. So now you should see the, let me go to the next one. There we go. So why e-commerce? Obviously, a big part of it is to broaden your market. You're not limited by geographic boundaries if you can start selling all over the country or even all over the world. So it's a great way to get onto e-commerce. Some of my clients that have really benefited from e-commerce have actually been tourist type of businesses, like businesses that get a lot of foot traffic, but most of that foot traffic then goes off onto their own parts of the country. An e-commerce website is definitely a way you can stay connected with those what would have been one-off clients. I mean, I still buy hot sauce from a place in California that we visited on our honeymoon, in 2012. So it's just one example of many of businesses that can do pretty well by broadening their market and allowing for online orders. Online sales are up 52% year over year, which is pretty amazing. Definitely helps the case for getting an e-commerce website. And since the outbreak, online shopping is obviously up a lot as well. Aside from just online shopping, people are spending a ton of time online. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. And even for businesses that aren't selling online, even if it's just general web traffic, you can really take advantage of a lot of good traffic now. I'll go to the next slide now. So Susu, I actually can't see the any of the Zoom controls now. So if somebody just raises a hand or asks a question that you think I should quickly cover, just let me know.
Okay.
Let's see. So the next section, we're just going to talk a little bit about what to prepare for in terms of building your website. This is really important. A lot of businesses will just kind of quickly start putting together an e-commerce website without any thought behind it. But you do want to take a look and understand, like, what do your customers look like? What are their age, gender, income, location? So that's going to have an impact on how you build your website, as well as what products you choose to promote. You also want to understand, what are their problems? Why do they come to the website? What is the pain point that you can really highlight to drive them to your products? One thing that is out there about broadening the market is, if you have some kind of a local presence and some convenience built up with people just visiting your store and buying, you're not really going to get that benefit online. So you really need to think about, how are you going to position your products in a way that it's going to help people understand why they should choose your product and your website versus going to, Amazon and picking one of the Amazon choice products. And how do they want to be served? Do they expect free shipping? Do they expect free shipping on orders over X dollars? So that's a big challenge that a lot of businesses have, is just dealing with expectations when it comes to your product. And then you have to go and figure out if it's even feasible for you to meet those expectations. But assuming you can, you want to make sure you stay within them, so that you're not just getting bounced off and people are going to the next site. And what do they value? So do they value the customer service side of things, or is it just a commodity type of product that they're on and off the site again? So definitely thinking about all these things and writing down a bit of a checklist, and then figuring out from there how you're then gonna build your website and word everything. Aside from just setting up a website that's basically a catalog that doesn't deliver any value unless it's somebody who already does business with you and for some reason just goes to your site to order. You need to have all these things figured out before you even start working on the website. The next step is to do a little keyword research. This is just a screenshot of Google Ads keyword planner. So this is an important step because this can have a big impact on even all the way down to, for one, picking out what products you're going to put on your website, and for two, naming your products. So by using the Google keyword tool, you can put in the keyword of the product that you think they're Googling, and then Google will give you a good idea of, in the country, what search terms are people Googling most often. And then you might say like, wow, I was calling it, this technical name or this name that only 10 people in the country Google a month, whereas a similar way of calling my product is getting 1,000 searches per month. And then, so that's very important. So for SEO, so that people will find the product line. But aside from that, just making your website intuitive and easy to use so that people can browse your site and read the names of your products and read them in a way that they are likely Googling most often. So that's just another reason. Plus, when you're doing the Google keyword tool, it's nice to see like what the cost per click estimates are, because for certain niche products, you might realize that your cost per click is like pretty inexpensive and you could probably buy a good amount of traffic for a very low Google Ads budget. That's not the case for some products, but it is for others. One of our clients sells memory lamps. They're these little lamps that are special decorative pieces that a lot of people will give for sympathy gifts and things like that. And he was looking into Google Ads, and turned out the clicks were only about 80 cents a click. So he kind of changed from an SEO strategy to a pay-per-click strategy and was able to buy plenty of traffic for what he needed to generate the sales he needed. So just some notes on the keyword research that you can do before you're going into selling online and the benefits it can give you. So just wanted to talk about one thing that some businesses do care about and some don't care about when it comes to inventory. But it is definitely important to think about, if you have products online, do you even need to worry about entering in an inventory amount per product so that it'll be not listed on the website? Definitely something to keep in mind ahead of time, and also where you're going to store your products, and really just getting the logistics of that squared away before you build your website. Because if you get halfway through building your site and then it turns out that no, you really need some kind of system that hooks up with your inventory system at your store, then you might be a little bit stuck, because then what if the platform doesn't support that inventory system? So if you decide in the beginning that you kind of need your whole system tied in with your offline store, then you kind of want to take a look at whatever the system, point of sale or whatever system you're using in-house in the store, and seeing what e-commerce platforms most easily integrate with that system. Otherwise, you're going to be looking at fairly expensive custom integrations, which might not even be necessary for you. Also, pricing research is important. This is a big part of like also deciding what products you want to list online, because like if you go on and you realize that the product you sell in your store for $20 is readily available, and for good products with free shipping for under $20, and you probably know that you might not need to worry as much about getting that product on your site. So basically just going out there and looking at Amazon and eBay and just the different websites and just doing some price checks and trying to compare and make sure that as far as online prices go, you're at least competitive, because if you're not, those are probably products that you want to keep off of the site. And then it might also give you an idea of like which products do you sell that are unique and add value that you can't just go on and get an Amazon and pick a bestseller, an Amazon choice. So those are a couple of the big reasons to do some just general research between pricing and just to see how readily available the products are, and which products you can list online for e-commerce that truly are unique, that people are searching for, that want to buy, but can't just readily get on Amazon. I mean, Amazon's the one that we have to keep bringing up because, they offer free shipping on everything. and it's very easy to buy on there because all your information is already there. So you need to come up with the products and the pricing that are going to be most likely to get people to use your store as opposed to another. Shipping is a big one to get squared away in the beginning. The beginning steps, because oftentimes the shipping and the logistics of that can be the most complicated part of building an e-commerce website for most products. So you want to decide if you're really tied in with FedEx, UPS, or USPS. You want to get an online account created with them and figure out how the logistics are going to work with them picking up the items from either your store or maybe during this time, maybe your home or your residence if you have the products on hand. And then you need to figure out if you're going to be offering free shipping, flat rate, or real time. So those are all good options. If you can offer free shipping, then that's always nice to offer that, whether it's free because it's such a cheap thing to ship that you can build in your pricing, or free because if they spend over X dollars and you're not really worried about the shipping cost as much. Or you can just offer a flat rate to keep it simple. One way that we've used flat rate most recently is for one client that their product has to be shipped one day. And there was a region of New England that with 1 day shipping could go ground, and the rest of the country has to go 1 day air, which is very expensive. So we were able to build it into the website so that within that ground area for 1 day, it's just a flat rate fee. So it's much more affordable shipping pricing. So that's just an example of using a flat rate kind of model. You could also play around with it and make it so that the flat rate fees are offered for different amounts. So if somebody spends $50, they get one flat rate. If they spend 100, they get another. So there are ways to kind of play with flat rates to make them work better for what you're doing. And then real time is just basically just putting in the weight of your items and the dimensions, and having, whether you're using FedEx, UPS, or USPS, calculate the live time shipping. So that's also another great one to do. But what ends up happening is when you actually use real-time shipping and it's not a flat rate or some kind of rate like that, it ends up being a shipping fee that is a lot more than most consumers can digest nowadays when they're getting used to getting free shipping and 2-day shipping. Although I'm not getting 2-day shipping anymore from Amazon, unfortunately. So that's just some things to consider. And in the more rare cases, special cases to think of ahead of time are, like, we have one client that is selling paddle boards online, and she actually has to ship freight for that. So that's another thing to think of ahead of time, is is the item that you're selling something that needs some kind of special category or special integration, because she has to do freight shipping. So that's much different than a standard kind of shipping account. Aside from that, there's also, if you're going to be selling perishables online, you need to ship with FedEx. So that's a big one to consider. You need to ship. They have PeriShip, so you can ship perishable items. So that's another website that we did recently that, they had to ship, they were shipping food fresh. So, you have to use FedEx PeriShip. So if that's going to be something you're selling, just a little quick note on that, because we have experience with a couple different websites that are selling that. And it's a great time to be selling food online for groceries and meats and stuff like that, because there are so many people stockpiling and not wanting to go to the grocery store. All right. You also want to get your packaging and promotional items squared away. So if your packaging, going back to the meat example, is going to be expensive, you need to work that into your flat rate pricing. That's just one thing. Most of the time, packaging is fairly inexpensive for a lot of our clients, but you do want to kind of think of that ahead of time and actually calculate the cost of it so that you're not killing your margins by giving the packaging away and not even building that into your pricing. One thing that a lot of e-commerce businesses don't do, and I've noticed even when I order online, some of them do it better, are actually preparing promotional materials to include with your items. So it could be something where when somebody gets an order from you, they're actually a little postcard size thing that's just showing them the most recent offer or that you can have, or come back to our website and get 5% off your next order. Any kind of promotional item you can include with your products is going to help you a lot with getting those repeat orders. And if you do have any restrictions on shipping, just building that into the site. If you only want to ship to the 48 states, then just get that out ahead of time, because otherwise it's going to be hard to you'll have to do refunds and have some issues with that. So thinking about what the restrictions are definitely most important. And then this is usually something that comes up for a lot of business owners, like when they're ready to launch their website and they're all excited to start selling, and then they're like, "Oh, what do you mean? Terms, conditions, privacy policy?" But it actually is. It is required by law. You really need to have the terms and conditions and privacy policy on the website. Privacy policy is very important. Terms and conditions, the most important thing for the most part. Well, everything's important in that, but you definitely need to have a return policy built into your terms and conditions. I have seen merchant services companies actually withhold funds from the merchants because they didn't have a return policy. And I guess the main issue is that, if you don't have a return policy and somebody asks for a refund and the merchant company's already taken the funds and given them to you, then they can't get that person their money back, or they're just stuck in the middle. So you really need to make sure you definitely have a return policy, terms and conditions, and a privacy policy. The best route to go is to hire a lawyer. Most of the lawyers, from what I've heard, my clients say, they don't charge a ton of money to put these together because there's a lot of templates out there and they actually can read. It's all Chinese, it's all just Chinese to me. Like, I can't read that. So you really need to have it set up so that somebody that actually can understand the lingo and the wording is on there looking at everything. But there are people who also go on and get their own templates and tweak it themselves. So I'm definitely supporting hiring a lawyer to help you with that. But, there are templates out there that some people are using to get by on. All right. Just some notes about return policies. Some people say, like, I don't want to do returns. And the thing is, though, like, that could be your policy. No returns is your return policy. That's fine too. If somebody actually reads your return policy, that might kill your sale. So if you do have, it is typically best to have a return policy. But with that return policy, you should definitely consider having return deadlines. So, they only have 14 days to ask for a return or any kind of, just as long as you have a deadline on the post order date, so they can't come back to you like 3 years later and try to ask for a refund or return. Any conditions, who is responsible for paying the shipping cost for returning that item, should have that in your conditions. And then just instructions for how to then go about making a return. So just including that in there. I'm going next into a little bit about the steps of setting up an e-commerce website. If you don't already have a site, these are some of the basic things that you should look into doing. And these are the things that you should do after you've done everything else really in this presentation, because once you've figured out all those things in your target market, what products you're going to have, what your prices are going to be, if you need to be how you're going to be handling shipping, basically everything we've talked about is what you should try to figure out before you get to this step. Because all those answers and everything you need to do is going to be exactly the information you need to make educated decisions on the rest of what we're going to go over. But once you've done all that, you're going to need a domain name if you don't already have one. So if you don't have a website already, you can usually just go to GoDaddy.com and secure a domain name. And then that's going to be separate from whatever you choose to do for a e-commerce platform, but at least you secure that name. If you already have a domain name with your website, it's usually best to use that same name because it's already built up some domain name authority and some search. So you would want to keep that. But if you feel like this is such a unique website separately from your physical location, then you could always start fresh with a new domain. You will need an SSL certificate for the website, a hosting package, and of course a web developer. Web designer like myself typically is the easiest route to go because, with Susu and my clients, we would actually walk them through all of the steps of this presentation to figure all that out before you get to the designing part and the development part, so that it really is, start to finish, you have somebody actually working with you on it. But if you are trying to save money or you're trying to do it, you can try to do that all on your own and bring it to somebody, and then it'll at least expedite the process if you still hire somebody. If not, you can try to build it on your own through some of the different platforms out there. All right. So one of the next steps would be, this kind of depends a little bit on the platform, but first, a lot of platforms, you are going to try to figure out, like, how do you want to process payments? If you did use something we'll get into this next, but if you're not using a vendor that has built-in payment processing, or you're using something open source, you would need to reach out to like a credit card or authorize.net or one of those companies to get set up to accept credit cards online. And we can talk, if anybody has questions about more about that, then we can talk about at the end as well. All right, now this is the fun part that we like to get into, recommended platforms. There are two that that we recommend. I'll just tell you the two first before we get into the pros and cons of each. One is WooCommerce, which is a WordPress plugin. If you're not familiar with WordPress, it's a open source software that a lot of web design companies use to build your small business websites. And WooCommerce is an integration for WordPress that allows for the site to become e-commerce and sell products. And there's tons of extensions available. The other one that we recommend is Shopify. Shopify is like a great tool for businesses that their core of their website purpose is for online and e-commerce sales, whereas I feel like WooCommerce makes a little bit better of an add-on for a website to have WooCommerce. But we'll get into these pros and cons in the next slide here. All right, so with WooCommerce, one of the best features of WooCommerce and WordPress is how customizable it is. You can really take it and really make it whatever you want and really customize it. But with all that customization does come ongoing maintenance work. So like if you build a WooCommerce site and it's on WordPress and you do all these customizations, as WooCommerce and WordPress come out with their own updates, you then have to keep all that compatible with whatever customized version of the site that you're running. So that's also on the con side. Aside from that, another pro is there's a lot of really nice themes and designs that you can use and customize. So you can get a really good looking website in WooCommerce for fairly low investment. And then, yeah, there's a large community. So that's another positive. If you have questions and need help with WooCommerce, there's a lot of people out there that are just in forums and will help you with it. It's a little bit less expensive than some of the others that are out there, but you know, when you're relying on community support versus like if you use something like Shopify, which we'll talk about next, you're paying a subscription, but you're getting actual support from the e-commerce vendor versus just relying on a community support with like 4 different people telling you to do 4 different things. So I think that's definitely one of the cons. It also doesn't have built-in SSL or built-in payment gateways like we're going to talk about. So I'll just go on to Shopify because now I'm starting to talk about the cons of WooCommerce. I'm starting to talk about the pros of Shopify anyway. It is scalable. You get a free SSL certificate with your subscription. The payments are awesome on Shopify. They're built right into it. So when you get a Shopify site, right off the bat, you're getting the built-in Shopify payments, which also covers a lot of payment options that can help you convert sales. So you get Apple Pay, Google Pay. You get all these things right out of the box that you don't get with WooCommerce. With WooCommerce, you end up having to get a whole bunch of different extensions and apps, and you pay for those separately, and you have to configure them and make sure they work. And then, you know, it's just the more of those that you add, the more likely something's going to break and need to be fixed in the future. The themes are pretty good for Shopify. They're a little more expensive than WordPress. You know, they're usually like, if you get a paid one, they're like $160 or $180, where the WordPress ones are like $50. But, you know, it's like a one-time cost. If you're building a website and you're actually planning on getting some sales from it, I don't think that's too big of a deal breaker. You can potentially get onto different platforms with Shopify. So basically making it so that your Shopify store can be listed on Facebook, or it could be on Amazon, Etsy. There's some different like import-export tools that are pretty cool that come with Shopify. And yeah, it just works really well. I'd say the only con with it is like when you get the base version of Shopify, you do end up having to typically add on a few apps, which are like little add-ons to the site. So they do strip it down a little bit and make it so you end up having to pay a bit more. So the base price for Shopify is $29, but typically when it's all said and done and you need to add an app, for a little extra app for shipping to make even more customizable shipping, then you have to do that. Then you have to, so you end up paying like 50 or 60 a month. Again, not a deal breaker if you're actually going to be doing some online sales. And the benefits of Shopify are definitely on the back end and the ease of use for the store owners as well. So you can create shipping labels right through the back end of Shopify. All of the order confirmations and notifications are just out of the box built in with them in terms of text message confirmations, email confirmations, tracking on the labels so that somebody automatically gets an email with the tracking information. So Shopify is definitely the best for if you're selling physical products. I should have mentioned WooCommerce, if you're selling like digital or downloadable products or virtual products or services, WooCommerce is definitely the best, I think, for that, because there are extensions. So if there's anybody here that's thinking they're going to be selling more so content or downloads or something like that, then that's the one that WooCommerce would probably be the one that we would recommend for that. And Shopify is definitely more geared for physical products that are being shipped. So that's something that we can cover more in the Q&A. But I did want to mention this presentation was originally created more so to help stores that have basically forced to shut their doors, but also just want to know for the people that are consultants and educators and things like that, there are ways to use WordPress WooCommerce for that side of e-commerce. Getting started with either one you need to do, or you can evaluate some of the themes. They have free and paid. The paid ones are definitely a lot better than the free, so I definitely usually recommend going with a paid theme. And then usually when you buy a theme, you end up getting an extra level of support to reach out for questions for the person that created it. You're going to need a product page, very, like we said before, with the keyword research, very clear names, strong descriptions, obviously beautiful photographies, important. If you have products that you're trying to sell online without people seeing them in person, then it's obviously very important to have very high quality photography to generate sales. It's easier to get that photography in some industries. I want to see if I can show you an example of a Shopify website that we just put on last week and is doing very well. And they had a food stylist actually take the pictures of their products. So I think that I'm sure they would be doing anyway because they just have a following. I'm going to put it on my other screen here so you can see it. I don't know if you can you see that, Susu, the website?
Yes.
Okay, great. I can't see, tell. Okay, so as you scroll down, you can see that these products are actually styled. So you can see how steak tips just sitting on a plate are not very attractive. But when it's styled and you have these little props next to it and you get everything all well placed, it was a way that they could actually make something that you're selling online look attractive and appealing and like something that you want to pay to have shipped to your door. And they're steak tips. I mean, they're really good, and people that have had them are huge fans of them. But if you're just somebody that just maybe stumbled across it and you go to the website and the site didn't present them well, then people are going to say, well, I'll just go to Stop and Shop and get steak tips, So that's just one example of how photography can really help compete with just otherwise something that some people could see as a little bit of a commodity type of item. All right. Just going on to the next one. The most important pages on all these e-commerce sites do come down. Some people think you just have all the products, but you should have a home page that showcases your most popular products, has call to action to get to the shop site. So I'll actually just go back to this example since I already have it opened. You can see here how it very quickly goes into their signature product, which is the Boston's Original Steak Tip. Has a little grill on the back with the tips there. And then there's a call to action to shop now, get them straight into the ordering process, basically the shopping process. And then it goes into their main categories of what they do with a link into each of those categories. So and then a little section that shows the reviews and that they're featured on Phantom Gourmet, which in our area is a pretty well-known outlet, so that helps to also get some sales. All right, and then having an about page, the story and the why are usually pretty important for smaller e-commerce websites. as well as contact us. So you do need to make it known that, I mean, I've known where I know when I've seen some random products on my, Instagram feed, and I click through it and I'm like, is this even a real company? You do want to see that there actually is a contact person and about, and seeing what the story is behind the product. So it's definitely important for any website really, but especially if you're an unknown kind of e-commerce presence. And now this is the slide where we talk a little bit about, this should be also thought about in the beginning. I just threw it in at the end just because, you don't just put up an online store and just start getting sales. Biggest thing is obviously SEO. Have a plan for how you're going to try to generate more traffic. Are you going to have a blog, have Google Analytics installed in the site so you can track? If you're not getting any sales, at least you'll know, is it an issue with my website? If you're getting a bunch of traffic and no sales, and you're like, wow, something must be wrong with my site, and I'm going to fix it. But if you're getting no orders and then you look at your analytics and there's no traffic, then the traffic's the problem, and you can work from there. Getting onto Google Shopping and also having a custom search on your site just helps your items get found easier. Just some more tips here: family, friends, email marketing, referrals, Facebook. Basically just making it so that if people aren't just actively finding your products online, making it so that they're at least seeing it on their news feeds, and you're putting it in front of them to the different audiences. But to start on your initial orders, the best bet to get at least some fast orders in is to share with your friends and family, and also to email your customer database is definitely going to help a lot getting those referrals. Did you want to add on anything, Susu, on this one while I have it?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to collect the email addresses and do some Facebook ads, and send it out to multi-channel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. That's a great point. Definitely using the website to collect new email addresses. That's another thing that's great about e-commerce websites is it automatically collects all your customer data. So that's definitely a huge positive. All right, so that was the end of the slides. So the last time we did this, we used the end for some Q&A. Do you have did you want to add on anything at the end, Susu?
I do, but hold on, my screen got frozen.
Oh.
All right. Okay.
There you are.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, especially with COVID now, to have an e-commerce website. I've seen a lot of restaurants where they are not able to do online ordering. So it's good to set it up where they can take orders online, and before because COVID might last a long time for a while, so it's good to be prepared, and it's not too late to start now.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So are there any questions?
George has his hand raised. Let me see if I'm going to allow George to talk. I've never done this before. All right. I'll try to unmute him. So you should be able to ask your question, George. Otherwise, if you want to type it into the chat, I can read it there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so my question is, I always thought for websites, one uses WordPress, but I guess the point is these two options you gave are for e-commerce as opposed to just one's website per se. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the WooCommerce does integrate with WordPress. So that's one advantage to it, is if you already had a WordPress site and then you want to turn around and start selling online, it's something that you could use. It's a tool you can use to integrate your website with an e-commerce solution.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, I'm glad you put my picture up there. I don't know right now.
Yeah, what we've seen clients do is that if they're primarily selling online and not using so much on their website, for their website features, will just develop a Shopify, directly, just a Shopify website. We have a customer that sells granolas and stuff like that, where she only have like a home page and then an about page, and she really wants to focus on just selling online. So Shopify will be a good idea, a good solution, versus if you have a website where you have a lot more content and you sell some products on the side, then you will integrate Shopify to it.
Definitely agree with that. All right.
So Donato, would you use WooCommerce versus Shopify? Which one would you choose?
I'd say for the most part, like any site that their primary purpose is e-commerce, I feel like Shopify is the better route to go. At least for physical products. But if it's like a company that is selling a learning management program or something like that, then WooCommerce has some, I think, is probably better suited for that type of a product.
Okay. Good idea.
And then if it's a really complicated site, then I think WooCommerce is probably still better. Like there was we did the website for Woodman's of Essex, and they ship live lobsters and stuff like that. So there was like,
wow.
Yeah, there was like some really crazy like guidelines and shipping rules that they had. Like customers could only place orders on certain days of the week to be like, there were like all these like crazy, like rules that we had to build into the site. Yeah, so
yeah.
I can imagine it would have been really difficult to accomplish what they needed, I think, and with Shopify. So we did build their e-commerce section of the site with WooCommerce in that case. And the online store for them is only like a small part of their overall business too. So that was, but it would have been pretty hard to do with Shopify even if we wanted to.
Right.
All right, so I think we'll take this is recorded, and we'll send everybody out the recording, and yeah, I think we should be pretty good, right?
Yeah, I just want to mention that that we are providing a complimentary marketing tune-up 90 package. It's essentially something that we can do an assessment on your website or your social media or an email marketing campaign. This is something that we want to help all the businesses and nonprofits during this time where, during COVID, we're just kind of at a standstill, and it will be a good way to kind of assess your online marketing. So if anybody who's interested, just let us know. We will send out a survey and also, the information about the marketing tune-up package. So stay tuned. Okay. Well, if there